Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over my open world build and overall impressions of the Bladesworn in the End of Dragons beta event numero dos, number 2. Now, this video is going to be much less critical. It's not going to be as long as the Catalyst, considering I really love the Bladesworn. The Bladesworn as a whole, I think, is really effective. There are very few things that I would actually change with this elite spec, so that's all great news, and it's been really great to test out. So let's go over all of the things I'm taking, all of the traits, and just start talking a little bit more about the Bladesworn. First and foremost, the new weapon. The new weapon being the pistol. This isn't really the star of the show, but it's definitely won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. It's really great. It's impactful. You know, you have a little bit of movement on this weapon kit. You have some Aegis application for that defense, extra vuln, and it has a really cool looking and cool feeling 5th skill Dragon's Roar. If you've seen my other videos going over the Bladesworn, you will know that I sing praises for this pistol kit. But next, we're actually going to be going into the new weapon. This is more of the weapon than the pistol really is. The Bladesworn gets the new weapon type called the Gun Saber. Now, the Gun Saber is not something you equip necessarily. It's something that you automatically get by specializing into the Bladesworn. With this being said, you do lose access to your normal weapon swap, so you only have to press F1 to swap into your secondary weapon. You no longer can really tab to your other weapon kit in combat. You can outside of combat, of course, but once you're in combat, you're stuck to that weapon kit. But the Bladesworn Blade Saber, or Gun Saber weapon, it's so much fun to use. You got some extra range capabilities that you can use really quickly on the 3rd skill. You have a little bit of projectile defense and more range application on the 4th skill. And you have this really fun movement ability on the 5th skill, this being Break Step. Artillery's Slash and Cyclone Trigger being your ranged and more defensive abilities. Blooming Fire, it's just such a lovely skill. The animation, the particle effects are so beautiful. It is pretty strong of a skill. It strikes pretty well. But the one thing about the 5th skill I would say is that I've talked to, of course, Boots, World of Enders. Go check his YouTube channel out, and also he streams on Twitch as well. But we were talking about this a little bit, and Break Step's a little weird. I mean, you have that explosion and damage on the location where you start to activate this skill, but if you lunge and like end at the target, like say for this, you don't actually strike them. Oh, that went a little further than I was expecting. You don't actually strike them. It only does the damage back wherever you start. So keep that in mind. Part of me likes that for escape potential. Another part of me wishes that if you were targeting an enemy, you would deal some damage at the very end as well. In addition to this, a really nice factor about this skill is that it is granting you extra fury. One thing about the Bladesworn that I've noticed is that you don't have great access to your own personal might, at least with the build that I'm currently running, nor do you have a lot of great application of vulnerability. Except when you use a burst skill, but we'll get into the traits in a little bit. So you have to really focus on the burst skills. Oh, I'm taking a lot of damage here. But it's really fun to just fight in combat with the Bladesworn. I've been having a lovely time with it. A lot of your abilities on the kit are ammunition, so you can use them multiple times. They don't feel super strong with one single attack, and I think that's why they gave them ammunition, because when you start using them all at once, then you can really start to have a flow in combat and also start doing some more damage. But, you know, as you can see right here, even auto-attacking, it does pretty well. Next, we have the Adrenaline and the Dragon Trigger. So you don't have your conventional burst skills on the Bladesworn. You do have access to this F2 so long as you are in a Gun Saber. Also, this mode only lasts, I believe, for 100 seconds. I kind of wish this was bumped up to like 200 seconds. I don't know why it's kind of short, but that's just a one little thing. But nevertheless, your burst skills. So we have Dragon Slash Force, Boost and reach. This is the melee attack. It does a lot of damage. I mean, the maximum damage is 38,000. It's a huge modifier. Boost allows you to move forward, and reach is your ranged projectile. Your fourth ability does allow you to have some extra defense with Aegis and also to relocate slightly. The one thing I would say about Flicker Step, the range should be increased to about 350 or 400, especially in PvP. But here we'll just use this 104,000 damage. I mean, in PvE, that's insane. You're going to get a lot of use out of this. Let's go. So that's one of the dragon triggers. I guess we'll just show both of them, kind of. We'll just try to start building up some extra flow in combat. Just doing some extra damage. We can weapon swap, of course. Certain traits will alter your weapon swap. One trait that I am using will actually activate a secondary strike on my weapon swap, which feels really lovely. Use that. Using all of the ammunition stored up on the 5th skill. Really nice to use. And then we're going to try to stay in combat. Flow doesn't seem to degenerate all too quickly, which is lovely to see. I really enjoy that aspect in combat with any energy aspect in a class. So long as you are building up that energy, even when you get out of combat, it doesn't automatically go away. I'm looking at you, Catalyst and Core Revenant. I'm looking at you too. But we'll just build some up a little bit and we'll start going into the next one. We don't have to go all the way, but this is going to be the reach where you blast forward. Big, strong damage. I mean, I didn't even get maximum charges, but I did 21,000 damage, which in PvE is nothing to scoff at, but definitely, you know, it doesn't have to scoff at 104,000 damage. That was pretty crazy. But of course, with different bosses and different strike missions and raids, certain enemies will have different vitality, armor, and toughness ratings, so you're not going to get every consistent number, you know? So let's bounce out over here. I'm going to use the utility skill real quick. Going to get some Aegis. We're going to move over here. And then this is going to be the reach. It's on a slant. It's on a slight incline. One thing Boots was actually talking about is that the projectile on the 3rd skill is a little wonky in PvP, though it does seem to follow the terrain. If there is an incline, if the altitude does change over a smooth surface, it does seem to move along with it, which is nice to see. And yeah, the gun saber is really lovely to see. It's really lovely to have. Next, we're going to be talking a little bit about the utilities that I'm taking. I'm taking all armaments, of course. I gotta be honest, ArenaNet, why are these armaments? Why are these not gadgets? I feel like these are gadgets. I mean, you're throwing out a bulletproof barrier to expand and explode. That's gadget-like. You throw an electric fence. That's gadget-like. You know, you can increase your flow stabilizer by giving yourself a gadget. You know, you give yourself a combat stimulant. You roll back. Oh, I stuck to the wrong one. You roll back and you leave a mine. That's a gadget. So I don't know why they named these armaments. It would have been really cool if these were classified as gadgets to have a little bit more consistency throughout the game, just in case someone is an engineer player and they're playing warrior and they're like, oh, what's an armament? But, you know, they're basically gadgets. Like, look, you just leave a mine and you dodge roll back. But nevertheless, let's talk about the utilities I'm currently taking. Combat Stimulant is a lot of fun. If you use this twice in a row, you gain stacks of boons, so long as you have Stim State active. If you use this once after 5 seconds, it'll heal you, and then you can activate this again after those initial bigger heal after the 5 seconds to space out larger healing over time. But if you want these strong boons such as quickness and fury and even vigor, you'll be able to get them as much as you need. And even we'll use the elite here. We'll pop this again to gain those boons, and then we can start coming in here with that extra quickness and extra fury uptime and start doing extra packets of damage. I was a little bit out of range, so I didn't get the most use out of that, but you get the gist. Next, we have Bulletproof Barrier. Bulletproof Barrier, surprisingly, I don't use a lot of projectile destruction or reflect skills in PvP, but in the case of the Bladesworn, I've been using Bulletproof Barrier quite a bit, and I actually like that it isn't a combo field. Not every AoE has to be a combo field, ArenaNet, but for the Catalyst, it should. But Bulletproof Barrier is really nice to have. It does apply a little bit of damage when you throw it. It does count as an explosion, which interacts with a certain trait. But it's nice, so long as you have some projectiles. Like we have some projectiles here in PvE, it'll start blocking it. And then we can throw out the 9th skill, which is Electric Fence. If they cross through it, they are crippled. And if they cross through it again, they are now immobilized. The cripple does not go away, so if you have expertise, your cripple can stay for quite a while. And also if you have expertise as well, your immob will stay for longer. But the 8th skill, I'm currently using Flow Stabilizer. It's not a stun break, but it does allow for some stability. So I've been playing with this build in PvE and PvP to where I'm not actually having any stun breaks on my kit, but I do have access to a little bit increased stability with Flow Stabilizer. Flow Stabilizer, 1 stack of stability for 5¼ second. I'm also taking a certain trait specifically in PvP. I think it's called Brave Stride, where when you use a movement skill, you gain some stability, which of course Break Step is a movement skill. So I'll be gaining that stability if I would have that slotted. But it's been really interesting to play that like no stun break, but like just pure stab build. It's interesting. And then we have Tactical Reload. Tactical Reload is really great. I mean, whoever thought about this elite is someone I really enjoy. I love elites that aren't like, you do a million things. It's you do one thing, but like really well, and it's very effective. And having that extra ammo, we'll just start throwing out some extra ammo skills here. We'll do a packet of that. We'll start using that, another packet of that to get the boons, and yet we have more stacks of stability, and we can throw out more barriers and more electric fences, and it becomes a really great time. We're gonna come into here, and we're gonna flicker step over here. Oh no. Oh, that's interesting. It does not. Oh. If there's a slight lip to it, you will not teleport there. It seems to require a really solid line of sight, pathing. It'd be interesting if this was just like a teleport, because you are already so stagnant. I don't know. I guess that makes sense. You know, you'd rather be cautious than, you know, find exploits and stuff. So, you know, be careful with how you use the 5th skill in the Dragon Trigger, and be aware of the elevation and all that stuff. We're gonna bam! That's basically the entire weapon kit. Now we're gonna talk about the traits. I'm taking Strength Arms right now. It's more so just like open world, a little bit extra survivability with more increased vitality, you know, getting those crits, getting a little bit more fury and positive flow uptime just to help me a little bit extra might, because it is a little low on the might, I will say. I honestly think that like combat stimulant could give you might instead of vigor, because it's a pretty strong heal already. I think having more offensive boons, that quickness, that fury, and like 3 stacks of might would help just a little bit, because then if you get like restorative strength, you get about like 7 stacks of might. You just play around with it a little bit. But for the Bladesworn, all of these traits are a lot of fun. They all have interesting ideas. The one trait I don't know if I'm 100% sold on is probably Flame Shell Burst. It's interesting that they're putting some burning on this when it's not apparent to me that this would be a strong condition build. But if you want a little bit of that cover condition, I guess, maybe you can go with Flame Shell Burst. But River's Flow, Swift as the Wind, I'm taking Unseen Sword right now. These are all really, really strong in PvP. River's Flow and Swift as the Wind is really great. Unseen Sword is a little weak in PvP, I will admit. It only gives you 1 stack of positive flow, but the damage is around like 150, 180. If this instead in PvP gave you 2 stacks of positive flow when you swap weapons, that could be maybe a little bit better. Unshakable Mountain and Lush Forest are really great. Once again, Fierce as Fire, not exactly sold on it. Immortal Dragon, I really enjoy for open world, and not so much in PvP. I gotta say, there's a lot of great things on this, but these are just a couple of my, you know, ideas on how to maybe buff this in certain areas. Immortal Dragon, 8% in PvE is perfectly fine, because you do have such massive damage combat modifiers on those Dragon Trigger skills. But in PvP, this is when we start to kind of talk about some buff ideas and balancing, because PvP is greatly different. In PvP, those Dragon Trigger skills are so much weaker. So I would love to see in PvP these Dragon Triggers to gain more maximum damage when you get to maximum shells. Because right now it's only doing like 5,000 damage. And to be honest, I've hit Dragon Hunter Longbow's 2 skills, True Strike. I've hit like 8k, 9k, 10k. Like, if I can do more damage on a Dragon Hunter Longbow ability than I can on the Burst Trigger, where I have to stay in it and sit stationary for 5 seconds, I don't find that to be completely balanced. But also, nerf Dragon Hunter a little bit. Like, I would not be mad. But anyways, the trait Immortal Dragon in PvP, because the damage numbers are so low in that area, the 8% doesn't feel great. I think in PvP, this should probably be around 12%. Not, like, you're not going to see it, like, exponentially more healing, like, a lot more healing, but I think bumping this up a little bit would probably help Bladesworns in a more bruisery type of setting. If there happens to be a player who's maybe a little bit newer to the game and they want to just, like, have a little bit of an easier time in PvP with extra healing on those blade strikes, maybe that would incentivize people to play around with that trait in competitive modes. The next trait is the competitive trait. Unyielding Dragon is so good in PvP. I've only played with Unyielding Dragon in PvP, and I want to try Daring Dragon, but Unyielding Dragon in a competitive setting is just so amazing. In a PvE setting, actually, we'll test Daring Dragon right now in a PvE setting. Let me just kill this guy real quick. Do that, do that. We're gonna just throw around here. Kill this veteran. Wha-bam! Nice. Easy kill. Daring Dragon basically lowers your maximum charges. As you'll see, it drops down from 10 to 5. However, if you use a Dragon Trigger and have leftover flow, it won't kick you out of the stance. It will allow you to keep going, so long as you have that maximum flow. So let's test it out real quick. I'm gonna do this, boom, boom. I'm gonna gain some extra stacks of stability. Just extra hits. Boom, pow. Love that for us. Boom, over here. We'll probably get around here. This will be perfectly fine. And then maybe we'll move this guy over here. You want to come over here? You want to come over here, buddy? Let's just try this right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Projectile. I'm back in it again. Flicker step. And then, interestingly enough, you can use non-cast time utilities in this stance, so I can use Flow Stabilizer in here, which is great and competitive. And I'm already back in it, so we're going to do another one. Bam! I'm back in it again, and then we're going to max stack, and we're going to slice through. So, in open world, Daring Dragon can be really lovely. It could be really nice. And even getting to 5 stacks, depending on what weapon you use, what trigger you use, I'm still hitting around 13, 12,000 damage, which is pretty strong. If of course I had might, I had an ally giving me some extra might, alacrity, quickness, fury, and then of course applying vulnerability to an enemy, you're gonna get more out of that. But interestingly enough, I did want to point out a little bit that you can use Flow Stabilizer in that Dragon Trigger, which greatly helps in a competitive setting because you can get knocked out of it so easily. Last little thing though, some of the animations, Cyclone Trigger, my friend Smudgem talked about this and I realized, I was like, you got a point. The Cyclone Trigger whirl effect, it's so similar to Ranger's Whirling Axe. And with elite specializations, I'm fine once again with animations being reused, but with elite specs, I do want to see them go a little bit more interesting with certain spell effects and particle animations and particle effects, colorings, different designs for particles, different AoE sizes, not just circles, but let's try a triangle, let's try a rectangle, let's try a road, all that stuff. Moving fields, you know, expanding combo fields, all that lovely stuff. But in the case of whirling, what is it called? Whirling Cyclone Trigger, if the wind effect was recolored a bit more orange, that would at least notify you that you are playing and fighting against, of course, a Bladesworn. It would give it a little bit extra identity and not just be like, oh, that's to the Ranger effect. So that's the one little thing, like literally the only little thing that I could think of in terms of a slight change is just to recolor this whirling effect. But everyone, thank you so much for coming by. This was definitely shorter than the Catalyst. Great things about the Bladesworn. PvP has been really fun and interesting. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about the Bladesworn. Are you enjoying it? How are you liking the gun saber? How do you feel about them taking away your weapon swap? Any other comments about the armaments, the traits, etc., etc.? And this cultist is attacking us, so let's kill this cultist real quick, and we will sign out. And we're gonna charge it up one more time, guys. Get that 5th stack. Can we do it? 5. Bam. Lovely. 24,000. And yeah, subscribe if you'd like to pre-order End of Dragons, purchase the expansions, or try the game Guild Wars 2 for free, I have links down below. Thank you so much, ArenaNet, for offering and supplying partners with these links. It's greatly appreciated, all the love. And if you'd like to support the channel more directly, you can get a Patreon link where you get early access to videos, you can recommend videos, and get some exclusive playtime and a very special Discord sub-channel in the House of KROOF Discord. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone!